Today I'm cutting open Thursday's mock toe of the Diplomat, and thanks to Built Bar for sponsoring this video. So I want to do a mini winter boot series through November, at least like the first part of November, and I'm definitely going to do the LL Bean boot, but I'm not sure what else to do. So let me know which boots you want me to do in that series. I'll probably do 5 videos, like the top 5 winter boots, so let me know in the comments which one you want me to do. And we just released a new mouse pad. It's a little bit bigger than the ones we had before, and it's made out of the same leather we make the harnesses out of. It's a 9 to 10 ounce Horween leather or Wicked and Craig. So check that out if you're in need of a holiday gift or a new mouse pad. Now let's go over the information on these boots. So the brand is Thursday, the model or the style is Diplomat. The color I got is Burnt Copper and Harvest. And I wanted to show you guys both of them. So we're gonna cut open the Harvest, and I'm gonna wear the copper ones because they have kind of a unique leather. It's a really oily leather that has some kind of unique characteristics that I'll probably show you in future videos as I wear them. The price of these are $199. They weigh 1 pound, 9.5 ounces, and I don't know where they're made, so I'm gonna send them an email tonight and put it into the video so you know where they're made. So now let's go over the information and what we can gather before we actually cut these in half. Starting with the outsole. So this is Vibrams Christie outsole. And it's a really popular outsole for work because it's so soft and squishy, but it does wear out pretty quick, as I've talked about in all these mock toe videos. It's 360 Goodyear welted, so that means this welt stitch goes all the way around the heel. Some of these other boots, they don't have the welt that stitch that goes all the way around. Some people like having the welt stitch because of how it looks. Some people don't. I don't think there's really an advantage either way. Some people say it's easier to resole, but I haven't really heard an argument either way that makes me think one better than the other. More than anything, I think it's more preference. And then to the upper leather. So this is a little bit thinner leather. It's about 1.6 to 1.8 ounces. It's a full grain chrome tan leather, but they call it oil tan. That basically just means there's tons of oils infused into this. And then their Harvest leather is oil tan as well. It's just more, it's more dry leather. It's more of like a traditional boot leather, like if you'd see like a more dressier boot. And this leather is tanned by the Lafarque Tannery Group. They tan a lot of the leathers for like Timberland, Tony Lama, Wolverine, and Ariat, and a bunch of other brands. I'll put a little picture here of everyone, all the people they make leather for. And this leather is kind of unique leather because it's kind of matte, but I shined up one side, so you kind of see that as you wear this boot, your pants and whatever you're wearing is gonna start shining the high spots of the leather, and then the low spots are gonna still remain kind of matte. And so you get kind of a unique looking boot even after the first few times you wear it. And even like scratches, if you scratch it with your fingernail, you can just rub it out because there's so much oil in this leather. Next to the lining leather, so most of the other boots we've seen don't have a full liner. This has a full leather liner. It's 1.2 millimeters thick. We'll kind of go through more of the information on the pros and cons of that later in the video. And then to the insert. So this is a permanent insert that's a 1.5 millimeter foam latex topped with leather. And it just gives you a little bit of comfort while you're breaking in whatever's on the inside, versus if you've ever broken in a pair of Red Wings, you know how hard that leather is at first until you get broken in. Next to the eyelets. So these are a reinforced eyelet. Most of the eyelets we've seen are the type that kind of splay out as they're set. These are a 2-part rivet that Thursday says is a custom design that basically adds a little extra strength, but they are a little bit sharp on the inside. So especially on the speed hooks, they're pretty sharp and they kind of beat up the leather a little bit. Maybe it's just this pair of boots, but the lower eyelets aren't as sharp, but especially these top ones are sharper than I would expect. Which isn't too big of a deal because these laces are kind of a cool lace because they're 20% Kevlar, 80% polyester, so they are going to be more wear resistant. And then if you look at the edges here, they're all rolled, which is like a really nice touch and kind of sets the entire theme for this boot. It's more of a casual boot than work boot in every way. You know, it's got the thinner leather, the rolled edges, and just a slimmer profile. And now the last thing to talk about before we cut them in half is my initial wear impression and just the overall look of these boots. Because I wore these ones around for a couple days, and I was really surprised at how comfortable they were right off the bat. There's really no break-in period because of how thin this leather is. And more than anything, what surprised me most was these boots are really deceptively roomy, you know, because this toe box is so flat compared to the Red Wings. And because this rib on top it's a little bit brought in, it looks like it's a really narrow boot. So when I saw these on the internet, I was like, I don't know, they're probably gonna be pretty uncomfortable because they look really narrow, but they have way more room than Red Wings. And so they do a really good job of deceiving your eye and kind of giving you an optical illusion to make them look more of that dressy, pointy style, but still having plenty of room. And the thing is, a lot of people stay away from mock toes because they're notoriously high the notoriously high toe box that people associate with that clown look. I don't mind it personally. I like the look of the Red Wings, but for people who hate that, this is a really good option because of how slim and flat this toe box is and how well they pull it off. So now let's cut them in half and kind of see why these are so comfortable and kind of what else is going on inside of here. But first, let's talk about Built Bar. So this might be a little bit longer of an ad read, but I wanted to talk about me maintaining the integrity, not only when it comes to reviewing boot companies when they sponsor video, but just the general integrated sponsorships for individual videos like Built Bar. Because I never want to push anything or advertise anything on my channel that I don't actually believe in, that I don't enjoy. And so when it came to the Built Bar, when they were interested in sponsoring this video, I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, I don't know, I don't like the taste of protein bars, but I do like the fact that while I'm editing or while I'm recording, I can have a quick snack and tide me over the next few hours until my next meal. So they told me, we'll ship you some, try them out. If you don't like them, no harm, no foul. But if you do like them, let's talk. So they sent me this package and I tried one and they're delicious. And I made the mistake of leaving them out on the front counter. And over the next few days, everyone in the shop, Schmood and everyone else, slowly was picking at these. And now there's only 5 of these left. So that's about as good of a testimony as I can ever give. The fact that everyone, including me in the shop, loves these bars and keeps sneaking them and eating them. So I don't have any left. And the big question with any protein bar that tastes really good is how good is it for me? And so instead of trying to explain it all, I'll just put their information right here so you can look through it and compare it to the other ones. And while you're looking at that, I'll show you these other 2 things they sent. So they also sent me the Built Go squeeze packs. It's just like a protein energy squeeze. And they also sent me the Immunity Boost drink additives. You pour it in your water or drink, mix it up and drink it. They're all super good. So if you're sick of your old protein bar, you just want a little bar to tide you over to the next meal like I do, check out Built Bar. They're really, really tasty, and you can save 20% by using the code ROSEANVIL20 at checkout and use the link in my description. So thanks to Built Bar for sponsoring this video. Okay, I got it cut in half. Let's see what's inside. So I think I figured out why why I like to fill these more than some of the other ones. Because if you look here, we've got 2 big chunks of compressed cardboard, kind of like what we saw in the Italian-made sneakers, that give a little bit of extra height at the heel. So as your foot goes down to the ball of your foot, you got that extra arch support from that height. And that was really surprising. And I think that's why when I put my foot in the shoe, I was like, ooh, I like that. This feels good. Because it's got that extra arch support. And I'm a big fan of arch support. I don't like flat shoes as much. So let's go through the layers, identify what they are. So starting with the outsole, working our way up, we've got that Vibram Christie outsole, and then a full leather midsole. Then we got a nice cork filling that fills that void between that rib of the Goodyear welt. And then we got a steel shank in there, and it's kind of a different shank than what I've seen before, because this isn't riveted. It's actually got a little hook on each side of the shank that goes up into that compressed cardboard to hold it in place. And then we got those few layers of compressed cardboard, and then the fiberboard above that. And we can see that foam layer with the leather on top for the permanent insert. And then we move up to the lining leather. We can get a little bit better view of that. And one thing I didn't notice was, until I cut them in half, is how deep this tongue is cut. Most of the boots we've seen are gusseted at least halfway up, if not all the way up on like the nicks and stuff. But these don't have that gusset. There's some pros and cons associated with it. This won't be as leather-proof, but it'll break in faster. It's gonna be more comfortable and a little bit more breathable, but you're not gonna have quite as much water resistance as you would with a gusseted tongue. But then we move to the counter. So the counter is kind of an interesting one because the founder of NYX has really strong beliefs when it comes to counter materials. I prefer the leather ones because it's more traditional. It's a harder wearing material, but it does take forever to wear in and break into your heel if it breaks in at all. Some people have a really hard time with like the Red Wings because they don't ever break into their heel. He, the founder, loves these heat activated counters because they break into your foot within the first few times of wearing them, and they're really custom form fit to your heel. So it's kind of a trade-off either way. You get a really fast form fit that's gonna last a long time versus a heavy duty leather counter. And you know, if this was a work boot, I would say this isn't good because you want something more durable, but this is more of a casual boot, kind of like what we talked about earlier with like the rolled edges and the general profile of it. So I think I like that counter. He's kind of getting me converted to that heat activated counter, especially after the sneakers that had that same counter. So a really interesting construction. I didn't expect it to be this different. I really thought it was gonna be almost identical to the Thorogoods, but we got that extra bit of compressed cardboard in there that's gonna make this heel actually a little bit taller. Like if we take a measurement of that, about 40 millimeters tall versus the Thorogoods, 35-ish without the insert. And then Red Wings, might as well do them while we're here, about 35 as well. So you get a little extra height out of that as well. For some people like me, like that extra arch support and the extra dip for the ball of your foot. And the fiberboard insole, it's pretty common for what we've seen in this price range. If this was a $300 boot, I would wish that it was leather and that like the compressed cardboard was leather. But for $200, it's fine. And there are some pros and cons for leather versus fiberboard. You know, if you've broken in a pair of the Red Wings, you know they're hard at first. It takes a long time to get that footprint into your boot versus fiberboard. You know, within a few times of wearing it, it's gonna be a lot more comfortable, but it's not gonna last as long. So it's kind of a pro and con both ways. And I was really impressed that they have an entire full grain leather midsole for this price range. That was surprising to see. I thought that maybe the welt was just leather and that there was like rubber for the midsole, but that's another layer that will potentially break in over time. You know, because even the Red Wings, they have a rubber midsole. But there are some things I don't like about this boot, like the eyelets being a little bit sharper than some of the other ones we've seen. And the lining, I'm not a fan of lined boots, just, it's more of a personal preference than anything. I feel like it's less breathable and I'd rather have a thicker single piece of leather than two thinner pieces. But that being said, this is a decently thick leather. You know, it's the same thickness as the Danner's upper and it's not lined up the shaft of the boot. But the one issue I do have with it is the way that it's constructed. The seam goes right up the heel. So most boots you'll see that you've got a counter cover that's flesh out that helps grab your heel as you're wearing it, and there's no seam up the middle near the heel. But with this one, it doesn't have that counter cover and you got that seam right there. And so as your heel slips and as it wears, you have the potential of wearing that seam out first before the leather even wears out and causing some failure there. And that's maybe where this counter material comes in handy, because this will form to your heel a lot faster. So you're gonna have less slip for less of a time period. So I don't think you wear it as fast, but you know, to be nitpicky, that's the one issue with the liner I really don't like. But overall, I think this is a really good boot for the price. I'm super impressed. You know, I was coming into this review a little bit hesitant because it looks like a really narrow and a more dressy boot, but it's built really, really well. It's really deceptive in the way that it's comfortable at the toe. It's not super narrow. And it's got that extra arch support that you don't expect from the outside. I'm pleasantly surprised with this boot. Very well engineered to make that almost like an optical illusion where it looks like a really more casual dress inspired boot, but have the same shape that's even wider than the Red Wings. And for $200, it fixes a lot of the issues that we saw in the similarly priced Thorogoods. You know, with the leather welt, the leather midsole. They're definitely not a work boot like the Thorogoods are, but for a casual boot, I'm pleasantly surprised. Let me know what you guys think if you've had these. Let me know in the comment section what your experiences are with them, your likes and dislikes, pros and cons, because I really like reading through the comments to see people who've actually worn these, their opinions, because that's super valuable to me with videos moving forward. And next up, we got White's mock toe, and I'm really anxious to see what kind of mock toe they built, because it's one of their, I think it's their very first boot under $300. It's their very first mock toe. And as far as I know, no one really knows what's going on inside of that boot because they just came out and no one's really dissected them yet. So that'll be out on Sunday and then the finale after that. So if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to that 300,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year so we can get out all these things. And thanks for everything you guys do. See ya.